Yeah. Subscribe to the channel. Julia heard the footsteps and crouched down. She recognized them right away. TSK, it's me, your hateful mother. It's been 6 months since her mother was her father and mother. And if Agnes had previously very virtuously depicted a good woman, then now she was not going to hide her real self. As soon as Julia was brought home from the hospital, Agnes immediately told her, I really hope that you will wake up soon in this world. In general, it would be better for everyone if you died. But you managed to hurt me here too. Of course, I will not kill you, but I will do everything to make you die yourself before your perfect age. Julia then thought that all the words of the mother-child were. But very soon she realized that Agnes was not joking. The girl really bothered her a lot. And now Julia realized that the match was not going to stop before anything. Too much money was on the line. A few years ago, Julia was a happy person. She studied at the university, adored her favorite daddy, and absolutely didn't need anything. Despite the huge condition of her father, she was never a jump. She never learned to drink what she was burning like her friends. And in general, she was the joy and pride of her father. Julia didn't remember her mother. Of course, she was very lacking in female affection, but she was so used to it that her father replaced her with everyone, which made her feel very isolated. And then, when her father turned, he brought them to Agnes' house, introduced them, and said that they were dating. She understood that her father had done a real feat, not marrying for all the time. That's why she met Agnes Laskova. She didn't like the woman very much. At first, the girl didn't even understand what it was. She was beautiful, well-groomed, polite. Then she realized that it was her eyes, not some lifeless ones, but cold, empty. And the most interesting thing was that her eyes never changed. She looked at her dad, at Yulia, at the table or at the wall. But when expensive things came into Agnes's sight, especially jewelry, her eyes were alive. Yulia and Agnes were keeping a silent neutrality, trying not to intersect and behave with each other extremely politely. Dad saw that his girls were not scolding him, and only after that Agnes made an offer. The day when everything happened, Yulia ran home on all the sales. In her hand, new blood was squeezed. Dad offered to buy it, but the girl insisted. But Dad, why pay for everything? Am I really so stupid that I can't pass the exams myself? She passed, and from the first time, and now she ran home not only to please her father, but also to finally ride her a month ago. Her father gave her a beautiful red car. Dad, I passed. The father went out on the floor. His face was upset. Even the evil ones congratulate. Agnes, who was angry, passed by. Dad, did something happen to you? No, daughter, everything is fine. The family life isn't a loss. Could he tell his daughter that his wife demanded to rewrite half of the company on her, since she wants to be sure tomorrow? He told her that the whole company will belong only to his daughter, which is indicated in the will, just in case. Oh, Agnes has left. He never saw her like that, and he even thought that he would get married very quickly. But it was all later, and now he didn't want to spoil Yulia's happiness. When you get your dad on the boat, oh, Daddy, if you have time, let's go now. And let's go. They went out of town. Yulia looked at her father. Well, daughter, how are you doing? Great. And then, out of the turn, trucks jumped on them. Yulia pushed the brake pedal, but it just fell through. The speed was not decreasing. Dad understood everything. He grabbed the wheel, twisted it, put his car in the direction of the truck. The door opened. Well, haven't you died yet? What do you need? Agnes? You don't know. I need you to leave this world before you turn, and you won't be able to inherit it. You won't make it. I will enter the inheritance, and you will not interfere with me. Agnes smiled. Julia was very worried about her smile. There was something evil in her. You know, dear, I came up with such a thing. You were sick. Rather, you are a damn log, a disabled person. And in the city, it is very difficult for you to be. You moved to the country house. By the way, I fired your seat today and found another one for you. The new seat will take care of you. Interesting. Did she order from the priestess? Yuri was in despair. What did Nessa come up with again? You almost guessed it, dear. She took out a piece of paper and began to write. Romanov Sergei Viktorovich, sentenced to 7 years in prison. A murderer. In addition, he behaved very aggressively in prison. He has a lot of broken noses and bone of the. He has nowhere to live, nothing to drink, and he hasn't seen a woman for so long. I congratulate you, dear. You will meet your daddy very soon. In the meantime, you need to pack all the necessary things. Agnes, dancing, left the room. After a couple of hours, during which Julia was looking at the ceiling without a hitch, they came for her. Once she really loved their country house. And now, realizing that most likely this will be the final stage of her life. Yulia wanted to cry. Agnes paid those who helped to bring Yulia here and looked at her with satisfaction. Look how good it is here. Birds are singing, the air is fresh, and most importantly, there is no one around. You want to scream, you want to cry, but no one will hear you anyway. The food is in the whole refrigerator, so the nanny can even feed you so that you do not throw yourself away quickly. Well, dear, it's time for me. Agnes sent her an air kiss and left the room. Julia heard her talking to some man and realized that the new nanny had already arrived. Sergei couldn't believe such luck. He was released only a week ago, and he didn't even bother to tell anyone he knew. He knew that after what had happened, no one would want to talk to him, and that he couldn't be heard or spoken to. The house was taken at the expense of some damage. In general, he had nowhere to go. Tried to jump into the janitor's car, and he was almost taken. But then some woman recognized him, raised such a whistle that he was literally pushed out. But what did he want? Even the janitors watched TV. He was sitting on the curtains at the store's wall when a chic car passed by him. A little bit of a pause, and then turned back. A beautiful woman came out of the car at the age of. Sergei got up. What does she need? She was interested in him, and she looked at him in a way. 2 meters tall, broad shoulders, too weak beard, almost bald head, and clothes that have long been out of fashion. He just got rid of it. He walked a little. Yes, why did he sit? And you? Answer me. You will earn money. I really wanted to eat. Just cruel. And he said murder. The woman smiled. Here, go eat. I'll come here in an hour. Wait for me here. Do you need a job? Very. That's good. When Sergei heard what job he was offered, he ran away. But you don't know me. I'm just out of prison. That's what I need. Of course, he agreed. Who will refuse to work with the living condition of his situation? When the woman left, Sergei looked around. Wow, Charoma. He certainly understood that the country house was not a summer cottage. But to make it so, apparently this family didn't have a lot of money, but a lot. It was only unclear why he was here. Sergei opened the door to the room and immediately stumbled on a barbed wire. But at the same time, the girl's eyes were frightened. Hello, my name is Sergei. He came closer to the bed on which Julia was lying. The girl shrunk. But that's all. This is a terrible man. She blinked, but nothing happened. She had to open her eyes. The man was standing in front of the bed, crossing his arms on his chest. Are you always lying down? Julia barely nodded. Can you sit down? She definitely shook her shoulders. They said that it was possible in the hospital, but the mother told her to lie down. She couldn't sit down herself, and there was no one to help. The chair was scared. There were cameras everywhere. Do you want to eat? Julia looked at him surprised. She didn't understand anything. In her mind, He looked around, saw the TV remote, and pulled Yulia. Don't get bored here. The man came out, and the girl looked at him in amazement. She thought he was really smiling. Maybe he's such a maniac, and first he needs to be sacrificed. Sergei appeared minutes later. Yulia managed to distract with a TV show and forgot why she was brought here. When he entered the room, she shivered. The man pushed the table in front of him on the wheels. He put her in bed, and she looked at the food. Fried eggs, salad of fresh vegetables, bread with large lumps, and chopped smoked meat. Nothing useful, but everything smelled so good. He stopped, looked at her, bent down, and stretched out his hands to her. Julia closed her eyes. Sergei opened his eyes. What's wrong? Does it hurt? No, what do you want? I wanted to put you in jail, or you will eat lying down. He bent over again, put her down, and pulled her pillows from both sides. How good it was for her to watch everything from a normal angle. Eat. Then we'll talk. After a full dinner, he brought coffee for herself and tea for her. He moved the chair and turned down the sound on the TV. But tell me, Yulia, What did this woman do so wrong? And the girl, without understanding why, told him everything. About Dad, about the car, about the accident, and about how she was told that she would never get up. He listened and didn't interrupt. At the end, he just asked, "Do you think she hopes that I will bang you?" Well, something like that. Very interesting. Okay, you go to sleep today, we'll finish tomorrow. And tell me, is this your dacha? Yes. Is there any accident of your story of illness? I don't know, if only in my father's office, there on the second floor. Why do you need it? I wonder. I used to be into medicine. Well, look there. By the way, there are Dad's things there if you need to change. In the morning, Yulia woke up the smell of coffee. She opened her eyes and realized that she had never woken up at night. Can I have it too? You can. I counted here. You can have everything. Sergei clapped on the table with a thick folder and went to the kitchen. Then he came back. He took her by the hand and took her to the bathroom. Yulia was extremely ashamed, but she couldn't get away from the natural. Then they drank coffee, talked. You don't look like a Zek killer. Well, I'm a Zek, of course, but not a killer. Yulia was surprised and stood up to him. How is it? Yesterday you told me stories, but today it's my turn. I'm a surgeon. I love my job and always took the most difficult cases. It so happened that I was admitted to a private clinic. Together with me, or rather my boss, there was a man for whom money was most important. He bought a batch of low-quality drugs. I immediately realized that it was better not to use them. After the surgery, people are already weak and the body still has to fight with them. And in my department, I strictly prohibited him. Then I was told that if I was going to get out of bed, they would just throw me out. I thought if they threw me out, they would kill everyone with this birdo. And I agreed. However, I bought the medicine with my own money and exchanged it. One day, my medicine disappeared somewhere, and everyone was beaten by the sick. In the morning, 6 people died, and I had full pockets of checks, and just for this medicine. Julia listened to me, hiding her breath. That's right. It turns out that not only her life turned upside down, but in which hospital you worked. Exactly in the one where you were treated. And I don't really understand why you don't go. But I'll figure it out if you let me. In the evening, Sergei took Yulia out on the street. He put her in a chair, and he started to fry shish kebabs himself. Lately, there has been no positive in Yulia's life. For 2 days, Sergei studied the story of the girl's illness. She was the third one, looking at her with red eyes, asking, "Can you trust me?" Yulia smiled. "Of course. What choice do I have? Mother will not give me life anyway." She did not think it would be so painful and scary. But Yulia obediently did everything that Sergei told her. When the mother called for the first time, the girl could already sit down and even get up on her own. However, she could not walk on her own. But she, who was covered with success, knew for sure that she would not stop now. Having learned that Julia was still fine, the boy tried not to show his dissatisfaction. But Sergei said, "Is there really no one who could listen to you and help you? I'm sure that the brakes in your car disappeared for a reason. There is one person, but the boy will never allow us to meet." She almost convinced him that the holy. And after the accident, I was practically unbearable. He came once, and she hit me with some crap before that. I was whining, spitting, and in general a nightmare. Who is he? This is a friend of our family. I mean, Mom and Dad. The next day, Sergei went to the city. Julia quietly tried to walk, and when there was no one around, she almost succeeded. In the evening, a car stopped under the window. It could be anyone. Even Machika. Yulia pulled the blanket to the chin. It was very scary. The next minute she heard voices. It was Sergei and Artem Nikandrovich. Yulia sat down, then got up. A friend of his father and his soul guard entered the room. "Young man, I hope you understand that if I came in vain, you will have big problems." He turned around and froze. "Yulia, I don't understand anything. Agnes said that you haven't been getting up for a long time, and you're already dying. Young people, what's going on?" They talked for several hours. Then Artem Nikandrovich began to gather. "Not from home. Wait until I come myself. And I will come, I hope, tomorrow." The evening was sad. Julia understood perfectly that she would never see Sergei again. She was afraid to admit to herself that now she can't breathe without this man. At night, She quietly rose and went to his room, leaning against the wall. He didn't sleep, as if he was waiting for her. He just asked, "You won't regret it?" Artem Nikandrovich came for Yulia in the morning. They drank tea, and he told how Agnes behaved when they came for her. But they barely told her that the car was sent for an examination, and the doctor who treated Yulia was taken under custody. It completely disappeared. Before leaving for the city, Yulia took Sergei by the hand. "You hear?" He smiled. "Naive girl. Now she will sink into her usual circle of money and luxury, and will not remember about him." As soon as the car touched, Julia turned to the man she had known for many years. "Uncle Artem, I need to talk to you. This is about Sergei." Sergei lay on the couch. He honestly did not understand what to do. Wait for Julia. But a week has passed. She probably forgot to think about him. And suddenly she will come, and he has nowhere to go. He turned on the TV. Everything would be fine, but so boring. News came, and Sergei already wanted to switch, but then he saw his photo on the screen. He jumped and made the sound louder. As it turned out, Sergei Viktorovich Romanov became a victim of the cunning machinations of the chief doctor. He spent several years behind bars. Who will answer for this? Prevail. That the management of a private clinic will pay compensation for all the years he spent behind bars. This is a very large sum. Also, Sergei Romanovich will be reinstated as a post-attestant. He sat on the couch. It can't be. It just can't be. Is this really Yulia? Only she could have taken all this outside. Knock, knock. Do you accept guests? He twitched. Yulia was standing in the doors. She had a cake and a bottle of champagne in her hands. I missed her so much. He threw himself to her, pressed himself to her, and sighed. Here it is, happiness. And let someone try to say that years is a big age difference.